Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video sort of just sharing my advice on basically like when you start a piece, whether you're coloring what you've drawn or coloring in adult coloring books. Believe it or not, one of my most time consuming parts of it is actually choosing what color palette I want to use for that picture. And so I was just going to kind of show you my little steps and give you a couple ways to do it. And hopefully be able to just basically give my advice well enough where you'll be able to find an easier way to choose. Maybe it'll help you on how to decide to choose what colors, that type of stuff. So I'll zoom you in here in a minute, but I wanted to kind of show you everything that I use. Now I don't use the best method, and I'm going to tell you what a better method is, but I'm going to show you just what I do. So I will keep all of my colored pencils in here, and I have my Prismacolor pencils and my fine touch pencils in here. I always keep a pencil sharpener with me, and this is like a piece of wood block that my husband made for me. He drilled holes in it to like hold colored pencils up. And I'll keep more than just these colors. The colors that I normally always keep on this block is always a white and a black, because I love using the white a lot of times to blend. I'll use other pencils to blend too, but I do like blending with a white Prismacolor. And black is great for shading, or if you're drawing, you know, I'm not saying you have to use Prismacolor brand, but a black color pencil is really nice for darkening lines up, and it helps with shading and stuff. But also other colors that I will mostly, well, most of the time I've taken them out because I went somewhere with them, but I will also keep usual skin tones that I like to use the most in this block, so that's always out and I don't have to dig for them. And my colorless blending pencil from Prismacolor, I'll always keep that in this block as well. So before I even kind of get started, what is a better way to do this method than just having your pencils in like a separate container and having to make a wood block and things like that? Is, I don't know the actual technical term for it in the store, but there's these like color pencil holders, and I'll insert a picture right here so you know what I'm talking about. And it just is like a satchel sort of type thing, and you open it and all your colored pencils are there next to each other side by side. And then you can, you know, turn your colored pencils where the names of the colors will be out, if that helps you. And that, then you know, you could also put like your colors right next to each other, each color category, all right next to each other. Like keep all your blues together, all your pinks, all your greens, so on and so forth. And that'll just make it a lot easier for you to spot your colors and be able to pull them out. And then if you wanted to make a block like this, you can then pull out all the colors that you're just going to use on your piece and put them in a block, or you can move them around inside of that color pencil holder and keep them all in one spot that you're going to use just for that piece and replace them, or just pull them out and set them on the table. I like to just pick out the colors that I know I'm going to use for this piece. You know, of course, during coloring, sometimes I'll choose to come back in for a different color, or I'll choose to switch out colors in the middle of coloring. But I do like to start out with an idea of what color palette I'm going to use and take all of those colors out and have them set aside just so they're easier for me to grab a hold of. Now usually this thing is like setting up on a table, but like I said, with one of those roll out colored pencil holders, it would be a lot easier than having to dig through this, because I have to literally sit here when I choose my colors, sit here and try to find them for like a little while. So I would invest in one of those colored pencil holders if I was you. Okay, so sorry if the camera's a little bit shaky. This is one of the most recent pictures I've finished, and this is in the Pop Manga coloring book. And I don't know if you saw this one, but I did finish this one as well. So in that wood block, like I said, I like to keep my most used colors in this. So I already told you I like to keep obviously white and black. I'll also keep my Prismacolor colorless blender right here. So these are like mostly my shading and blending tools. And then the thing about it is with these fine touch color pencils is that they don't put a name on there. Like with the Prismacolors and a lot of other color pencil brands, they'll put that this is black or white, or they'll put the name of the color on there. So that's the only thing I don't like about those fine touch pencils. but I will also keep the Prismacolor Light Peach here and Prismacolor Peach, because those two are mainly what I like to use on skin tones. And this fine touch pencil, I know it looks yellow, but the tip is actually sort of a peachy tone. So sometimes when I want a tanner look, I'll take that just because it's a little, it creates sort of like a tan look in skin tones. Now, before anybody says anything, yes, most of the skin tones that I color is this, and of course I have the flash on the camera so it'll wash it out a lot, is more like baby doll peachy colors. That's just because I haven't practiced enough with darker skin tones. So, you know, that's like one of my next goals, is to practice doing different skin tones. But that's why those are the only colors that I keep here for skin tones, because that's the only thing I'm comfortable with right now, because I haven't practiced any others yet. The best piece of advice I can give you when working with colored pencils, this is one of the reasons why I love Prismacolor so much, and not just Prismacolor, but any brand that puts color names on their pencils, because then you can create a swatch palette type thing. I just take one piece of paper out of my sketchbook and I swatched every color that I had and wrote the names down. And I try to keep them sort of in color categories. Like, I put the first two most unusual colors that I have, which is the silver and metallic gold. Then I put all the purples together, the reds and the peach colors, and then the pinks, and so on and so forth. So that way, whenever I see a piece like this one, I knew with this one I wanted her to have blue eyes, so I immediately opened up my piece of paper, went to all of my blue tone colors, and that's when I decided, okay, which ones do I want to use? Then all I have to do is, you know, since I have the name wrote down, then I'll dig the color out of here and then put them all inside this block so it's easy access. That's where I say the pencil color holder will be a lot easier to deal with, because then you're not, like I said, constantly pulling out and looking at the names to try and find the colors that you want. They would be all right next to each other and a lot easier to spot. And also always keep a sharpener close at hand. So what I did for this one, because this one is sort of like, I didn't really say that I wanted all these colors. What I did was I had colored a couple of wings, certain colors that I knew I liked, and then I said to myself, okay, I want this to be sort of rainbowish and have a lot of different colors. So all I would do is, whenever I decided that I wanted a blue one, is that I would pick ones that complement each other. Like, for example, the light cerulean blue and the true blue complement each other. I'll use the light cerulean blue all over, and then use the true blue to add some shading. And the same thing, like if I chose like light aqua and aquamarine, I'll use the light aqua all over and add darker spots for the shading with aquamarine, because they're similar colors, but one's lighter and one's darker. Same thing with, for my purples, I know I usually like to do lilac as our main color, and like Parma Violet as that darker color for shading. And other blue colors that work really well together is if you take peacock blue all over and use indigo blue. Also, you could do ultramarine and violet blue, because those are two similar colors. They're both kind of like that purplish blue tone. And violet is another way to darken up Parma Violet as well, because it's just a bit of a darker. Another thing is I'll think about what colors I want to mix. Like, for example, when I did the moss over here, I wanted it to be sort of a deeper red color. Same thing with like this butterfly wing. So I sit here and I think, well, I know I'm going to use crimson red, because it's one of the darker shades of reds that I have. And I like using crimson red and Tuscan red together a lot, because Tuscan red is sort of a brownish red color as it is. It's basically like a brick red color, whereas this is like a blood red color. And so I can use that for shading for when I use crimson red. But sometimes if I want to really darken this crimson red and make it more brown tone just to really deepen it up, then sometimes I'll either choose to use like sienna brown, because that's sort of, I don't know, it's like a milk chocolate brown color. And then sometimes I'll even put burnt ochre in because that's brown that has sort of a reddish tint to it anyway. And if I want to go really dark, then I'll use something like dark brown underneath the red, and then I'll put the red on top. And that'll really deepen that color. There's another adult coloring book that I have that has a lot of pictures of landscapes in them, and there's trees that I like to make like a bluish green color. And I'll usually put True Blue on first, really lightly. And then I will take, I think, either grass green or olive green, depending, or dark green over that, and it just gives it this really nice, different two-toned. And then, you know, like if I was to take the True Blue first and then covered it with grass green, then I would probably deepen it with dark green, or covered it with olive green and deepened it with dark green. So whenever I was doing this picture and I was choosing what colors I wanted to do for her blonde hair, I just simply looked at my swatch thing here, and I'll even use this to blend different colors together to see how they would work for me. So it's just kind of like my do-all piece of paper, and of course you could always, you can, you know, keep scrap paper to do things like this. But I sat there and I went to like all my yellow tones and brown tones for her hair. And I think I know that I used like yellow ochre. I think maybe even used some Spanish orange. I know I used some goldenrod. And I'm not sure if I used yellowed orange. But then like I would go to make darker parts. I would take the burnt ochre and it would add sort of a reddish brown, maybe like low light to her hair. So it's just really easy for me to make sure that I have a color swatch here to help me pick out my colors. It makes it a lot more simple. What I mean when I say it makes it a lot more simple is like with this coloring book, this is, I would color in this before I made my color swatch. So then I would sit here to choose colors. I'd sit here and swatch little circles of every color so I could figure out what I would want. And let me see, I know I've done it on other ones. Like here. And it would sit there and take time for me because I would have to pick out all these colors and dig through, and then I'd have to sit here and swatch every one of them to figure out what they looked like. And then that's whenever I got my Prismacolors where they had the names. I said, no, I'm going to make swatches of all of them. So it's just sort of like a quick glance thing, and it really helps pick out your colors. So if you want easy ways to help you decide what colors you're going to use on a piece, I would, like I said, get some type of color pencil holder where they're all right there next to each other. And I would definitely make color swatch paper, or put it somewhere where you can make swatches of the colored pencils and write down the names of them. Try to get colored pencils that have names on them so that it's just easier to look for. And also try your best to keep them in categories, like I said, all the purples, all the reds, all the greens. And also try your best to keep colors next to each other that complement each other, which I didn't do here, I just sort of went with it. But while you're doing yours, I would like maybe swatch a couple on a separate piece of paper, figure out which ones complement each other a lot, and put them right next to each other so they're easier to find. Like I know the light aqua and the aquamarine really complement each other, so I'm going to make sure I put those next to each other. And I know the light cerulean and the true blue really complement each other, so I'm going to put those right next to each other. And the true blue and the peacock blue also complement each other, so the same thing. It just makes things so much easier, so much quicker, because then you can decide, okay, I know I'm going to want something in the red family, pull this out, quick glance, and you know exactly what you want, most likely within seconds. So it just makes your coloring time a lot less stressful, a lot quicker, and just gives you more time to have more fun. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it was kind of quick, and I'm talking kind of low, but I really hope that I was able to give you some helpful advice on when and how, and easy steps to help you choose what colors you're going to want to use for your piece. Thank you guys so much for watching.